Hi again. Today I'm going to show you how to make a really easy, very filling and also budget-friendly dish, egg fried rice. I probably make this about once a week even now, and my family loves it. And I think if you have any leftover veggies or cold rice in the fridge, it's a no-brainer. Let's get started. First you need some chopped onions. This is one chopped onion going into a nice hot pan with some oil. You can either use olive oil or a little bit of untoasted sesame oil. I'm just going to season it with a little bit of salt. Not too much, as we're adding soy sauce at the end, which is quite salty. We want to fry this or sweat it down until it's nice and soft and translucent. And that takes about 3 to 5 minutes. Right, our onion is lovely and soft. We're going to add 2 chopped garlic cloves. Give it a little stir, and then some grated carrot. Both of these need, again, a couple of minutes. You can turn the heat up a little bit higher now that you have more ingredients in your pan. The aim is to have some really nicely cooked vegetables. In this case, you could have also added maybe some shredded cabbage, some cooked greens like Tuscan kale or kale. You can have basically whatever's left over in your fridge. Maybe courgette would have worked, peppers. I really like the combination of carrots and cabbage. Right, once the carrot has cooked down a little bit, we're going to add spring onions. These are 2 spring onions, just chopped on the diagonal, sliced on the diagonal. And while this is cooking, we're going to just whisk our eggs. Now, the lovely thing about egg fried rice is that it's really quick to make. I normally add about 4 eggs to the mixture, to the rice mixture, if we're about 4 people eating, and then often serve a fried egg on top of that as well, just to make sure there's enough protein in the meal. But that's completely up to you. You can also have some nuts alongside or some tofu. I've already added a little bit of salt and pepper to the bowl. If you ever do find a piece of shell in your egg mixture, use one of the egg halves, the eggshell halves, to scrape it out or scoop it out, because it's really sharp and thin. It will cut through the slightly slimy egg white much easier than your fingers or a spoon would. Right, we're just going to give it a whisk. No need to add any liquid, any milk or water in this case. Traditionally, actually, we'd just use 2 chopsticks to whisk your egg. There are different ways of making your egg fried rice. You can either make scrambled egg from the beginning and just scrape out your egg and do the rest of the ingredients. I quite like doing it all in one pan, and so I normally add it by the end and just make some space in the middle of my veggies, but I'll show you in a minute how to do that. Right, our carrots are nicely cooked. We're going to add our rice. This is just cold cooked rice. You can cook rice specifically for your dish and just let it cool down a little bit. Or in my case, I usually just cook enough rice. If I've made something the day before, like a curry, I'll make more rice and be sure to keep some for my egg fried rice the next day. Now the trick at this stage is to make sure that none of your rice clumps together. So if it did overnight in the fridge, make sure you break it apart nicely so it's nice and loose. Right, that looks about enough. We're going to turn up the heat and give it a good stir. You want the rice to be nicely heated through. And then right at the end, we're going to season it with some toasted sesame oil and some tamari or soy sauce. And I also have some black sesame seeds. Right, Some frozen peas, easy, always in the freezer. These only need a minute or so to defrost. I wouldn't leave them in for much longer as they lose their vibrant green color. Right, as you can see, this looks absolutely delicious. It's a really lovely, colorful and veggie-centric dish. Now I'm going to make some space in the middle, and I'm going to add my egg into that space and start scrambling. Make sure your pan is hot enough so it will actually cook the egg. But you should be able to see that it's already kind of cooking the bottom of it. It's okay if some of the rice falls into your egg mixture because ultimately it's all going to be mixed anyway. The nice thing about egg fried rice is that it also keeps really well, so if you want to have some left over for lunch the next day, it's a brilliant dish to just reheat. Right, we're almost there. And just add some of my rice on top, give it another stir. Now traditionally, you would actually leave your dish to cook just so it can form a really nice crispy bottom. And we'll do that now. And I'll just tell you about a secret ingredient you could maybe opt to add at this stage. I brought along some kimchi. I don't know if you've ever heard of kimchi. It is a Korean fermented dish made with Chinese cabbage, napa cabbage. Lots of ginger, carrots, things like radishes work really well, and a paste with a lot of Korean chili flakes. It's really delicious. An acquired taste, I will give you that, but it's also very healthy. Like most fermented foods that haven't been cooked or pasteurized afterwards, it's very full of probiotics, so the beneficial bacteria that help your gut with digestion, fighting disease, and that kind of thing. It's also really good for mental health. So what I normally do is, once I've dished up for the children, because this is a bit spicy, they don't love it that much, I then add some to my husband and my portion. And it just adds a really nice savory flavor, a little bit of spice, and definitely quite special. If you want to get hold of that, you can actually buy ready-made kimchi in stores these days. Just make sure you look out for unpasteurized versions. It will say that on the label. Right, our rice is done. It's nice and crispy on the bottom, so I'm just going to turn the heat down. Just going to season it with a little bit of sesame oil. Not too much, just for a nice flavor. And then a little bit of tamari or soy sauce. Now at this point, if you would like to taste it and make sure there's enough salt, the tamari does add a bit of salt, but you might need a bit more because there's quite a lot of rice in there. And then our little sprinkling of black sesame seeds. And there you go, that should feed you and 3 friends, or you for the rest of the week.